What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode review for Made in Abyss Season 2. This is episode 2, and with me, as always, I have Blue Spade.
So this episode picks up immediately after the events of the last episode, in which our three main characters finally reach what was it, the capital of the Unreturned. So of course, they arrive at the sixth layer, and then we're pretty much showcased of what's already in the sixth layer. Like, it's filled with it's like this hot desert like environment with numerous amounts of ruins, and then has
Gas explosions.
gas explosions, various amounts of wildlife that none of the characters are familiar with, and they pretty much spend the entirety of the episode just exploring that area. And I mean, it's pretty, I guess it's pretty decent in a way that we're finally getting an entire episode with them after the last episode where half of the episode was focused on this new cast of characters, and the other half was, well, I guess say less than the second half of the episode was focused on our main characters. But this one we're pretty much back to the characters doing what they usually like to do. And then I think at one point Rico attempts to send a mail balloon to the surface, but some of them question on whether or not that these mail balloons will even reach the surface. And of course, we quickly find out that it's intercepted by this bird that flies over them.
Yeah, so they're not able to get it up. There's just it's pretty much like Spade said, most of the episodes of them just kind of exploring this layer of the abyss, and we don't really get any of the flashbacks we saw in the last episode. Although, if we're to go by the new opening, it seems like there is going to be quite a bit of story dedicated to the other cast of characters we saw in the flashback. And I will say that that's because they are going to tie into the current arc. They're kind of important as to what's going to happen. But yeah, it was nice to actually have a whole episode with the main cast, and that's and of course we also see brief glimpses of another character. I'm not going to say anything about this character, but we see that they're of course being watched by somebody.
Yeah.
And this character is going to be really important to the to this particular arc.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so apparently what happens the next day, Rico wakes up to find that her white whistle has been stolen. If people don't remember, it's the white whistle is actually what was it? It was
Prushka.
Yeah, it was Prushka. It's in a most messed up way. Prushka was compressed and then somehow turned into this white whistle, and of course Rico pretty much gets worried as that with Prushka missing or the white whistle missing, that they're not going to progress any further. So
also as well, we should mention there was a sketch of the four of them, or the three of them that was kind of crossed out. Somebody had basically, the person that stole the whistle also kind of crossed out. I think it was Nanachi and Rico in the sketch.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Another thing I do want to point out is that if people haven't noticed, that Reg is only using his left arm, and if people haven't watched the movie, it's because his right arm is missing and removed because of what happened to him. I mean, what happened to him was kind of screwed up in ways, because Bondrewd has his other scientist experiment on him and then remove his right arm, and he hasn't really recovered his right arm since then. So now he's just mainly relying on his left one, and I'm curious of whether or not
I'm wondering if maybe at some point in the series he'll get an artificial arm or something like that.
Yeah, I mean,
to replace it.
He would have to get another right arm, but I'm still surprised he hasn't really gotten it back ever since the events of the movie, though.
Yeah. I will say not too much of a spoiler, but it does kind of stay that way.
Yeah. So so the trio, of course, like try go out and explore to try to find out who stole the white whistle, and eventually, like, there's one more thing I forgot to mention that apparently there's this force field that repels the curse of the abyss. So it's kind of the reason why that they're mostly protected from the curse itself as of right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, eventually the trio find a village populated by these indigenous beings, and they end up welcoming them, to their village. And then
I believe it's referred to as the Village of Hollows.
Village of Hollows. Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, and that's where, of course, the episode ends. It's like,
well, we also get introduced to one of the inhabitants of the village, which I think is its name is Mujikaja. And it's some people were pointing out, like, yeah, I guess the CG for it doesn't look the best, but I will also mention that the other inhabitants of the village aren't CG or anything like that. They're actually like hand drawn. It could be that Mujikaja is maybe just the only thing that is actually like rendered in CG. But I didn't really mind it that much. I thought it looked looked okay. Like I don't think it was necessarily as bad as like for example, the what was it, the turtle from Shield Hero Season 2, the Spirit Tortoise. It did not look that bad, so I didn't really mind it too much. But yeah, Mujikaja, like you notice he talks like in this weird language, like they kind of him and also some of the other inhabitants of the village talk in this in pretty much in another language. So sometimes it's more like a mix of this other language and they'll talk in English, and then they'll occasionally like say something in their language which means something else. They kind of explain what certain words mean, I think, later on. But yeah, they'll kind of occasionally like talk like that. So that's why like Mujikaja kind of says these random, like, these seemingly like weird gibberish words at times.
Yeah. I mean, overall, this is, I mean, it was a kind of a decent episode, but most of the episode was just, with just the three characters exploring this new area that they just arrived in. And now they're put into a situation where they have to recover the white whistle that got stolen for them.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of thought this would be the episode where we get introduced to the person who's watching them, but I think that might be a little bit later, because there is some important information about this person that gets revealed in the flashbacks. So yeah, they might want it to like coincide with that.
Yeah. Another thing is, like, I know this is like how many episodes? Like 12, 13 episodes.
I think
this
12
season?
or 13 episodes. Yeah, like around the same amount as the first season.
Yeah, it's just another thing that I'm worried about is. With this, I mean, I'm an anime only person watching this, so I haven't read the manga. But after the last episode, when we're introduced like this new cast of characters, I'm just curious of like how it's going to affect the pacing, because like we know this show is made by Cinema Citrus, and then of course the last one we just watched was of course season 2, The Rising of the Shield Hero, and we know how badly that pacing was, at the end of that season. So I'm just curious if if this.
Well, the thing is that this is a manga that's being adapted. It's not like a light novel or anything like that.
Yeah.
So it might it might not be as difficult. Of course, like I don't know exactly how their the adaptation process works and what they decide to keep and what they decide to change and all that. But I mean, I'm kind of going by the track record, because I mean, I'm assuming there's of course a different group of people that works on the Made in Abyss as opposed to the people that work on Shield Hero. I mean, Made in Abyss season 1 was adapted pretty well from what I've read in the manga, and of course the movie was adapted pretty faithfully from that arc in the manga as well. So so far, like, season 2 is, I mean, it does seem like there are some things are being shifted around, but it seems like for the better. Like there is a reason for it. other than that, like, yeah, I mean, what is being adapted is from what I recall, like, is pretty accurate in the manga. So I don't think it's really gonna affect the pacing too badly, especially considering I think this whole season is just going to be adapting this particular arc in the story. So I don't think we really need to worry too much about the pacing. With Shield Hero, like they wanted to do like as we know they wanted to do the Spirit Tortoise arc in like a very short amount of time. Just the first like seven. How many episodes? Like 5 episodes or something like that.
Yeah.
Until they moved on to the next arc. I don't think it's going to be the case here because, I mean, this arc is, it's not too long, but like I can see how it could easily be like 13 episodes. So I don't think we really need to worry too much about the pacing if they're just doing this arc, which I don't know why they would try to do this arc and maybe try to do another one, considering the length of this particular arc and also the title of season 2 being Golden City of the Scorching Sun, which I think is technically the arc they're doing. So yeah, I don't know why it would specifically be called that, and the whole season's not going to be like just adapting that arc in particular. So I wouldn't be too concerned about the pacing. But yeah, I don't think we're going to have the same issues as a Shield Hero season 2. Or at least I wouldn't think so. Considering,
I mean, you did mention that the flashback portion from last week's episode wasn't supposed to be there until like much later on. So I'm just.
I don't really think it's supposed to happen. Of course, I could be totally wrong, and people can correct me in the comments. It has been a while since I read this, but I don't think it happens until until these characters get introduced when they enter the Village of Hollows, because some of these characters that are being shown in the flashback are now inhabitants of this village. So that I think it's after that point that we get shown this flashback. And it's not at this point in the story that they're doing, the way they're doing in the anime. So yeah, I mean, from what I remember, I think this is not necessarily supposed to happen, but I understand why they did it this way. They want to give, I guess anime only viewers an idea of the characters that are going to be important and the characters are, going to be focused on in this particular arc. So they decided to start off that way, which I think is actually, probably a good idea. I'm okay with that change. So yeah, so far that's the only thing I've kind of noticed. Everything else seems to be more or less the same. So yeah, I mean, I'm not really worried about them rushing things or, anything like that.
Yeah. I mean, overall, in my opinion, I think this was a decent episode. I mean, it pretty much goes back to the roots of the original season in which the 3 main characters are going out exploring new places for the first time. So it's like I'm kind of glad that we're getting a full episode featuring the original cast now.
Yeah, I do think it's probably going to go back and forth between the flashback sequences and probably the current what's happening in the current time, like with Rico and the others. That's probably how they're going to do this, especially going by what was in the opening. Which I think makes sense. I mean, in the manga, it was just like, I think it was just a long, uninterrupted like flashback sequence. They didn't really like cut between. They might have, but I don't really remember them doing much of it, like cutting between the flashbacks and what's happening in the present time. It was mostly just showing that flashback. So it's possible what they might do is just kind of maybe show them, show some sequences are the flashbacks and some are like present day stuff. Or they could just do the rest of the flashback in 1 or 2 episodes or so. But yeah, I don't really have anything else to say about the episode, though. I don't know if you have anything else to say about it.
I mean, it was a good episode. Like I said, I did like the fact that that we're getting the main cast is being brought back into focus after last week. We were mostly introduced like with the flashback cast. And barely focused on on Rico's group near the end there, but with this episode finally being them being the focus characters of this episode, I think I think it was still a good episode in a way.
Yeah, With that all being said, guys, until next time, we will see you all later.